Hey everybody, welcome back. So our last video lesson is going to be about writing your paragraph. So we've been talking about figurative language and we've read a couple stories. So now we're going to kind of take it a step further, and instead of just identifying and finding these examples of figurative language, we're actually going to analyze and write about them. We're going to talk about what the function of figurative language is in the text. Why did the author make those choices and put those things in the story? So a really good way to structure and organize your paragraph is using the RACES method. And the RACES method is an acronym, and it stands for Restate and Answer, Cite Evidence, Explain and Elaborate, and then Sum It Up. So that's just like an easy way to remember this way to break up and organize your paragraph and your writing. Make sure that you have everything covered. So the first part of this is the restate and answer, and those go together. So R and A go together. When you're talking about restating and answering, you don't want to just restate, because then you're actually not giving any sort of claim or stance on the question. And you don't want to answer, because then it's really unclear what you're talking about, what story you might be talking about. So you want to make sure that you do both. You restate and answer. And you always have to start by just looking at the prompt. So if you look at the prompt for this assignment, it is how does Stephen King, or you're looking at how Stephen King uses figurative language in his short story, The Man Who Loved Flowers. So the easiest way to restate is just to use the words that are in the prompt already. Stephen King uses, and then you have to choose some sort of figurative language. So I chose imagery. So Stephen King uses imagery to, now here's where I have to answer the question. So what does he use imagery to do? Why is he using imagery? And my answer was, he uses these images and he uses imagery to create a peaceful and a happy setting in this story. And as you know, you've read the story, you know that there's a twist at the end, and the setting is there to kind of trick you, like everything's great and everything's really peaceful. So one of his goals was to make sure that as the readers, we knew that the setting was like this perfect, peaceful, good place to be. So restate and answer, I looked at the prompt, I restated part of the prompt, and then I kind of filled in the blanks with my own answers. Then you need to cite evidence. So this is where you need to go back into the text and you need to look for answers, look for examples that, number one, show imagery. So if it's not imagery, don't use it, okay? Or if you chose similes, then you need to find evidence that's a simile. So that's number one. But also you want to find something that really helps you answer that question. So I'm looking for imagery, and I'm looking for imagery that really shows like peaceful, calm, just like a nice, happy place to be. So I chose this quote, two parts of it. One was on the radio, the Four Seasons began singing Sherry. And then there's a mother pulling a baby in a wagon, the baby's face comically smeared with ice cream. So those two examples are both imagery. And one is auditory and one is visual. And also, those two really kind of show, hey, this setting is really fun and it sounds like it's a really nice day. It's a nice place to be. So it checks both of the boxes. So I'm going to use it in my paragraph. Now, when you've chosen your evidence, you want to make sure that you're embedding your evidence. And those 5 bullet points up there are going to help you do that. So you want to have a transition word, for example. That's the one I chose. What's happening in the text right now? So I need to know what the context is. For example, when the man walks down the street. So that's what's happening at that point in the story. Who's speaking or doing something? This is where you might have like, Sally said or Bob yelled, something like that. There's not really anybody speaking, so I just said he notices that. So I have my transition word, for example, what's happening when the man walks down the street, and then what's he doing? He's noticing. Then I put my text evidence. I made sure to put quotation marks. And then my citation at the end, last name, Stephen King. So I put King, and then the page number is 3. All right. So the next part is the E, and E stands for explain or elaborate. So you want to make sure that you're explaining your quote. This is basically just how is this imagery, okay? So I said the imagery in these passages are both cheerful and funny. The song Sherry's upbeat, and the image of a baby with ice cream all over its face would make most people laugh. So I'm just talking about how this is imagery that is like upbeat and happy, because that was what was in my restate and answer. And then the elaboration is basically connecting it back to your thesis statement. So I said, by using these images, the reader's immersed into a setting where fun music is playing in the background and wholesome events are occurring. The auditory and visual imagery makes this fictional town seem like somewhere where nothing bad could ever happen, putting the reader at ease. So my explain is just talking about why is this happy imagery. My elaborate is going back and saying, well, why would Stephen King want to do that? And I said he wants to do it because he wants it to seem nice and pleasant and fun, and he wants the readers to be like comfortable so that he can make that twist at the end. Then the last part of the races is sum it up. So then you just need a concluding sentence. And try to use a transition word. You can use something like in conclusion. And then you want to restate or reword your thesis statement, your restate and answer section. Reword it. Don't just copy and paste the same thing over again. Actually reword it. Okay. So I just said, in conclusion, Stephen King's use of imagery helps illustrate how the town setting is idyllic and calm, a place where anyone would want to be. Okay, so I just kind of restated using different words that restate and answer first section of the paragraph. So hopefully this was helpful. It was helpful to see an example. What you're going to do next is you're going to use the same prompt and the same story, and you're going to find your own answer to the question. So I want you to choose figurative language, and then I want you to choose a reason why. Okay, so choose imagery, personification, similes, metaphors, irony, whatever it is, and then answer why is he actually using that device or that tool for what purpose. Good luck.